Man, you hear this bullshit they be talking every day, man. It's like these motherfuckers is just like professional liars, you know what I'm saying? It's wow. Listen, Bin Laden didn't blow up the projects. It was you, nigga. Tell the truth, nigga.
Bush knocked down the towers.
Tell the truth, nigga.
Bush knocked down the towers.
Tell the truth, nigga. Bin Laden didn't blow up the projects. It was you, nigga. Tell the truth, nigga.
Bush knocked down the towers.
Tell the truth, nigga.
Bush knocked down the towers.
I pledge no allegiance, nigga, fuck the president's speeches. I'm baptized by America and covered in leeches. The dirty water that bleaches your soul and your facial features, drowning you in propaganda that they spit through the speakers. And if you speak about the evil that the government does, the Patriot Act attract you to the type of your blood. They try to frame you and say you was trying to sell drugs and throw a federal indictment on niggas to show you love. This shit is run by fake Christians, fake politicians. Look at their mansions and look at the conditions you live in. All they talk about is terrorism on television. They tell you to listen, but they don't really tell you their mission. They funded Al-Qaeda and now they blame the Muslim religion. Even though Bin Laden was a CIA tactician, they gave him billions of dollars and they funded his purpose. Fahrenheit 9/11, that's just scratching the surface.
Bin Laden didn't blow up the projects. It was you, nigga. Tell the truth, nigga.
Bush knocked down the towers.
Tell the truth, nigga.
Bush knocked down the towers.
Tell the truth, nigga. Bin Laden didn't blow up the projects. It was you, nigga. Tell the truth, nigga.
Bush knocked down the towers.
Tell the truth, nigga.
Bush knocked down the towers.
They say the rebels in Iraq still fight for Saddam, but that's bullshit. I'll show you why it's totally wrong. Cause if another country invaded the hood tonight, it'd be warfare through Harlem and Washington Heights. I wouldn't be fighting for Bush or white America's dream. I'd be fighting for my people's survival and self-esteem. I wouldn't fight for racist churches from the South, my nigga. I'll be fighting to keep the occupation out, my nigga. You ever clock someone who talk shit or look at you wrong? Imagine if they shot at you and was raping your moms. And of course Saddam Hussein had chemical weapons. We sold them that shit after Ronald Reagan's election. Mercenary contractors fighting a new era. Corporate military banking off the war on terror. They controlling the ghetto with the fear of attack, trying to distract the fact that they engineering the crack. So I'm strapped like Lee Malvo holding a sniper rifle. These bullets will touch your kids, and I don't mean like Michael. Your body be sent to the morgue, stripped down and recycled. I fire on house niggas that support you and like you, cause innocent people get murdered in the struggle daily, and poor people never get shit and struggle daily. This ain't no alien conspiracy theory, this shit is real, written on a dollar underneath the Masonic seal.
I don't rap for dead presidents, I'd rather see the president dead. It's never been said, but I set precedents.
Bin Laden didn't blow up the projects. It was you, nigga. Tell the truth, nigga.
Bush knocked down the towers.
Tell the truth, nigga.
Bush knocked down the towers.
Tell the truth, nigga. Bin Laden didn't blow up the projects. It was you, nigga. Tell the truth,
City
nigga.
Records was 80 seconds away from the towers. Some cowards fought with the wrong building. They meant to hit ours.
Testing. Testing. One, two, three.
All right, yo, this is RTTI in New York City. Coming on Sunday on a live stream. Got the live stream ability back. We got Nigel Nicholson in the building. We got Night of Thunder in the building. Reached out to Nappyhead Roots, and he's saying that he's having trouble connecting, getting through. And I know that to be a fact because other members of the squad have had the same issue, namely Night of Thunder, and we circumvented that earlier. And I called him back. They knocked me off, and then he called me right back, and he stayed connected. So these are the type of games that these people like to play. We just have to be ready to play them right back and continue going no matter what. At this point, I'd like to introduce the feature that I activated, and I decided to do that for this year, just to see how it goes. I was talking to the squad members about it briefly earlier, and I figured, why not? I'm going to activate the live chat feature. Understand this. I don't have time to, answer the questions all the time because I have to be active watching the live stream with the level meters recording when certain squad members may be talking, because these people will go in to the OBS software and tamper with the mic when they know I'm not in the room, as you already know. Whoever follows this particular live stream, they know that already. They know that they wait for me to go out the room and they play these childlike games and they turn off the mic, and then they either do that or they mess with my voice and they can go in and out and people can't understand what I'm saying or they can't hear what I'm saying. So if I'm in the room, I can actively see if the level meters are moving and people are being heard correctly and things are being recorded correctly. So with that being said, I just wanted to also introduce the fact that we have someone that I know for a while who will be moderating the live chat. And through her, you can ask me and anyone else on the panel questions that you may have. If she detects that you're being perpy in any way, if you're doing any little funny subliminal messages, or if you try to play any sideway games, she's going to catch on to it and she's going to block you. Period. You know what I'm saying? I already, spoke to the squad, like I said, briefly on it, and I was pretty much saying, like, if it goes well for this year, we'll allow it to stay on and keep it flowing. If it doesn't, then we'll just shut it off like it was by default and do it the way we were doing it originally. So keep that in mind for people who want to come on in there and play games. Again, I'm not going to be able to be like looking at the live chat and, like asking people questions or answering questions, or I'm not. I have to focus on this call for obvious reasons that I already mentioned. All that being said, I'm going to pass the floor over right to Nigel Nicholson because he has some stuff he'd like to drop. It's fire. And immediately after that, Nata Thunder will follow up with the second segment. Hopefully Nappy gets through. Shout out to him. Hope you're doing well, brother, wherever you are. Stay strong. Nigel, you got the floor.
All right, man. Thanks, RT. So before I, begin the article, which I'm going to be reading about today, last night, I'm going to do a recap of my targeting, what has been happening. I was just telling RT earlier, I basically almost slept the entire day. And I woke up, had breakfast, just relaxed for a little bit, spoke to my kids. And as soon as Artie calls me for this call, which is like around 6:30 or so, my neighbor upstairs all of a sudden just started turning on the music and blasting the music. I'm saying to myself, okay, so I've been up for about a good hour and a half, no music, and again, this is a Sunday. And so, but as soon as Artie called me, as we're going to start this call, we started blasting music, right? And so, again, that's just this reiterate of how they listen to our conversation and how our neighbors, whether it be through the technology or through texting or to make them aware that we're doing this call and to try to cause some sort of interruption, and plus I also had a slight headache too, so, again, just to, in any way to cause you some sort of discomfort. Now also, I woke up today, around minutes to 5, probably about maybe minutes to 5, and immediately as I got up, police sirens, okay? Which means, again, I'm on the heavy remote monitoring. Same thing I believe last night, because I was watching movies, so I couldn't sleep, and when certain words when certain words are being said, they will it'll be followed up by police sirens, right? And so I recognize these things. I'm not going to get into too much of it, but the PI, this is what has been done to me. If I'm watching a video or a movie, or even listening to music, there's certain words that would be in a song or in a video or in a movie, and immediately after these words are spoken, sung, or what have you, they'll be followed up by police sirens. So, but anyway, but during the week I've been home, and on this weekend I was going to spend the weekend with the kids, but I called their mother to say, hey, I'll see you guys Saturday. And she's like, why? I'm like, she asked me why, because something was up. I said, I haven't seen my kids in 2 weeks. And she said, well, it's not your weekend. Every other time prior to this, it's not a problem. Okay? It's not a problem. But I think the last video that I updated, because again, they're trying to silence me and from not putting the video. But I waited because I wanted to record at least a couple more videos of them targeting me before I uploaded the video. And I think the last video I did clearly shows, right, with the police in particular, how they've been targeting me. So they're angry with that. So now this is their retaliation. They're using her to try to, all of a sudden now she's like, oh, it's not your weekend for the kids and stuff and such and such. Whereas before was the problem because she gets to, go do groceries and stuff like that. And then she says to me afterwards, she's like, oh yeah, but I do got groceries to do. I said, well, you know what? I said, forget it. I'll see the kids next week. If the first thing that comes out of your mouth is not my you can see the kids, then hey, fine. Not a problem. All right. So anyway, so yeah, and the fact is also that she's been calling me on the regular. She called me Monday at work many times. Every time she called me, I can hear police sirens in the background. And then I called my son one of these days during the week, was after school, and his phone kept ringing and ringing and ringing. So I called her and I said, hey, and I called her, she didn't answer, so I called back again. Then I saw she texted me, so I hanged up, and she called me back later, and she says to me, why are you calling me at my job? And I'm just like, wait a minute, for the past couple of days, you've been calling me last week. I called you back, not a problem. I did all of that. You called me, I called you back. You were at work, not a problem. All of a sudden, it's, why are you calling me at my job? And I said, hey, I couldn't get in touch with Ethan. I want to know if you can see if he's sleeping. I'm not, right? So she's like, well, I don't care about what he's doing, when I'm at work and this and that. And I'm like, I'm listening to her. I'm like, okay, I know something is going on. So I was like, whatever. So I haven't been calling her. So I was like, you know what? I called my son on his phone. And but the funny thing is that when I called my son on his phone, all of a sudden she takes his phone and wants to talk to me now. I'm like, listen, I gotta go. I have no time for whatever games that they got her involved playing and trying to, I was like, I'm at that point now. I'm just like, I don't want to deal with that headache anymore. All right. So that was that. And so, like I said, I called my son today. All of a sudden, she takes his phone because I just asked him to ask her a question. When she takes his phone and want to talk to me, I'm like, listen, no, I'm not. Narcissistic people is men and women. Trust me. I've dealt with her for a long time, and she's a malignant narcissist. She's become a malignant narcissist, and so I tend to want to not deal with that anymore. I'm saying. I'm tired of the BS and all that stuff. So I understand how they'll target you and target the other person. I'll get the other person to target you if you have any sort of relationship or friendship, because again, this is what they do in terms of causing you to separate and causing separation and distress and all this stuff. It's just fine. You know what? Hey, there's nothing I can do about that. That's it. But I know I have to protect my mental state, and so. Eventually, like I said, I was going to get to this point, right? So, here I am. But anyway, so then here at home in the house with my family members, targeting me. And it's funny, I talk about priming, how they prime little children. So my niece's son, he's about a year and a half, almost a year and a half. Not quite. And I can tell there's been a lot of priming done with him using the technology. A lot of times when he sees me, he sticks his finger in his ears. And I say, okay, that's not a normal thing for a child to do, particularly at that young of an age, right? But every time they see somebody, they stick their finger in their ears. So every time he sees me, I'm noticing that he sticks his fingers in his ears, right? And so I knew that we'd be microwave and the technology is at work, you know. Today, actually not even today, but yesterday, I woke up around about 11:30 or so, and you know, my niece had company. She had a friend over, and yeah, I just laid in bed because I wanted to see. You know, I said to myself, okay, I'm gonna lay in bed for half an hour because she was like, oh, you know, I'm getting ready to leave and whatever, but she didn't leave, right? So I took my phone with me because I said, okay, I'm gonna catch them. Took my phone with me. I came out my bedroom into the kitchen. All of a sudden, she says, okay, I'm leaving now. And then, but she stays in the hallway, right? So she stays in the hallway as I'm making, you know, just making breakfast, get something to eat or have you. She stays in the hallway the entire time, and she's supposed to be leaving now. She's in the hallway the entire time, and I could tell I was being microwaved when they were giving her instructions. Because as soon as I finish with my breakfast, all of a sudden, until her leaving, she walks back into the hallways as I'm coming out the kitchen so that she can see me, but I have my phone and I was recording, okay? And so after I did that, after she left, about 10 to 15 minutes later, I started hearing police sirens. And I was like, yeah, I got you, motherfuckers. So that's what they do, you know? I was talking about my sister one night, who, she was leaving for work. Okay, she usually leaves for work around 11 o'clock. But she stayed, right, for a whole hour, almost a whole hour, right? They were expecting me to come out of my bedroom, right? So this probably wasn't giving me that instruction. And as soon as I come out of my bedroom, she walks out of the living room because when I sat down in the living room, for about a whole hour now, you know, remember she's supposed to leave at 11 o'clock because she's supposed to be to work at a certain time. So she waited until I come out of my bedroom, and I stayed in my room purposely. And then as soon as I come out, she leaves the house and she slams the door. Right? Now, she's always complaining about whenever other people come in the house that they slam the door. And she's like, y'all slamming the door. But she left that night and she slammed the door. So I was like, yeah, this is what they do anyway. It's been documented, the slamming of doors and stuff like that, banging of stuff, which my neighbors do. And I think yesterday, me and RT were trying to get on Xbox Live, which we did. But my neighbors were upstairs, you know, banging on the ceiling. And, you know, we got to play Gears of War for a few before they basically disconnected RT from the Xbox Live and you couldn't get back on. So that's, you know, they do stuff like this, right? You know, but it's not surprising. It's not, it is expected, you know, and you just got to try again and hopefully, you know, somebody on Microsoft end will start looking into these things and understanding that they are infiltrated by these people, right? And they do stuff like this. All right, so let's get into the article. This is an essay from actually, let me talk about this. This is Wired. So this is from Wired magazine, and this is from 2007. So again, this is nothing new. Like I said, you know, these things are nothing new, you know. So this is from 2007, so that means we're in 2021 right now. So, you know, even in 2020, 2015, what have you, 2000, you know, going back, they are incapable of doing these things, right? And so these things are perfected now. So I'm not talking the difference. These things are just coming into being or coming into fruition. These things have been developed, created, and is in existence and is being used. Okay? So the article by Brandon Keith Kemp, this is from June 26, 2007. Sending secret messages through DNA. That DNA itself might someday be used in medium for sending messages is a fun idea, and it inspired no fewer than two of my own sci-fi short story ideas, which one involving a race of GMC turtles and the other a plot for world domination. we can all be thankful that I'm a journalist. The DNA itself might certainly be used as a medium of sending messages. Okay. Using the same code that computer keyboards use, the Japanese group led by, and I'm sorry if I'm going to butcher these people's name, but you know, my pronunciation for Japanese, it may not always be correct, right? So Masaru Kamita of Kyoto University wrote 4 copies of Albert Einstein's famous formula E equals mc squared, along with 1905, the date that the young Einstein derived it, into the bacterium genome. The 400 million long string of A's, G's, T's, and C's that determine everything the little bug is and everything it's ever going to be. The point was not to celebrate Einstein's feast. They said in a paper published in the Journal of Biotechnology Progress, was a demonstration of DNA as the ultimate information storage material, able to withstand floods, terrorism, time, and the change in fashion in technology. Not to mention the ability to be imprinted with little unobtrusive trademark labels, little made by Monsanto Tigers, says. Overbites point out that Jason Lanier and David Salzer once proposed encoded a year's worth of the New York Times magazine into the DNA of cockroaches, guaranteeing its earthly survival in the cells of those ever adoptable creatures. Overbite then goes on to ask, why not people? The answer, unfortunately, is that the information would be encoded in our junk DNA. 97% of the genetic code that doesn't seem to do anything except, as scientists have recently shown, junk DNA isn't junk after all, but important for regulating the other 3%. Oh well, still good for sci-fi though. That's the short article, and one of the sources he used is from this article from the New York Times. It says human DNA, the ultimate spot for secret messages, are some there now. Okay? In Douglas Adams' science fiction classic, The Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, there's a character by the name of Philip Bassfest, who designed the Fjord of Norway and left his signature in a glacier. I was reminded by Philip Bassfest recently as I was trying to grasp the implication of the feast of a team of Japanese geneticists who announced they have taught relatively to a bacterium sort of, using the same code that computer keyboard use, the Japanese group, which I'm not going to repeat that, but the same as, encoding the DNA of that bacterium with Albert Einstein's famous formula. But it says, in doing so, they have accomplished at least a part of a dream by Jason Lanier, a computer scientist and musician, and David Salzer, a biologist at Columbia. Communicated in 1999 to create the ultimate time capsule as part of the Millennium festivities at this newspaper. They proposed the encoding of a year's worth of Times Magazine DNA in cockroaches. Okay? If cockroaches can be archived, why not us? The human genome, for example, consists of some 2.9 billion of those letters, the equivalent of about 750 megabytes of data. But only about 3% of it goes into composing the 22,000 or so genes that make us what we are. The remaining 97% so-called junk DNA looks like gibberish. It's the dark matter of inner space. We don't know what it is saying to or about us, but within the sea of megabytes, there is plenty of room for the imagination to roam. But trademark labels and much more. The King James Bible, to take one obvious example, only amounts to about 5 megabytes. Right? So inevitably, if you are me, you begin to wonder if there is already something written in the warm, wet archive. Whether or not some other bastard has already been here, and we ourselves are walking around with little trademarks, tags, are more wiggly and bristling and folded inside of us. Bill De Janeiro, a geneticist of the University of California, Santa Cruz, who mentioned Dollar Bass Fast to me, pointed out that the problem with raising this question is that people who look will see messages in the genome even if they aren't there. The way people have claimed in recent years to have found secret codes in the Bible. Nevertheless, no large a personage that Francis Crick, the discoverer of the double helix, riding with the chemist Leslie Orville, now at the Stark Institute in San Diego, suggested in 1973 that the primitive Earth was infected with DNA broadcast through space by an alien species. Let me just stop, because it's funny how they always talk about, these things are, sometimes they try to bring in the alien conspiracy theory into these things. And again, this is just a cause confusion, and to not, have people look at these things in a serious manner, right? Some people just read that and just pass it off. All these people are just, a bunch of scientists just looking and doing all sorts of crazy shit. But we have to think about it as TIs as for the military implication. Not also that, but the CIA in terms of with control and in terms of their spying program, and how how they're able to basically encode messages into the human DNA. Have that person who's a spy, take a flight, without any documents. But you can't really, you won't find it unless you take their blood and examine their DNA, right? So those implications are huge. And again, this is from the article is 2007. And here they talk about it in what's the date? 1973. Okay? So even in 1973, right, they were grasping these concepts of looking at DNA. And if you look at the word like cybernetics, people think that cybernetics is some sort of new within the past, 30 years or 40 years, right? But they were cyberneticists in the 1940s, okay? So let's go even back further than that. So they've had to have these ideas already, and a lot of times, where do they get these ideas from? So again, these things are nothing new. Now, at the time, they may not have developed the technology, right? But the concept of these things has already been there. And when you look at what the Germans were doing, okay, how they were, and again, what people don't realize is that the Germans was in North Africa, right? And a lot of their ideas comes from ancient ideas that they have decoded, right, while being in North Africa. Okay? So Africans had a lot to do with the development and the advancement of the Germans in terms of their ideas in physics, chemistry, mechanics. But people don't realize these things. So, let me go back here. All right. So, as a result, it has been suggested that the search for extraterrestrial intelligence, or SETI, would look inward as well as outward. In an article in New Scientist, Paul Davies, a cosmetologist at Arizona State University, wrote, "So might ET have inserted a message into the genome of extraterrestrial organism perhaps by delivering carefully crafted viruses in tiny spaces, probes to infect host cells with message-laden DNA. I should say right now, that I am not talking about theology or the near theology known as intelligent design. The ability to stick a message in a cockroach does not make us the designer or creator of the cockroach. Only evolution could be so kind or clever. But I'm a sucker for secret messages. Once long ago, I stayed up all night with my friends playing the Beatles' White Album, backwards hoping to hear the word, "Turn Me On, Dead Man," referring to the rumored death of Paul McCartney. I'm ready to find Stella Basford's signature and rediscover my cosmic heritage. The sad truth is, as others will tell you, this is a bit like writing love letters in the sand. You don't buy it. I don't buy it, says Mark Sortak, an astronomer at the SETI Institute in Mountain View, California, pointing out that DNA is famously mutable. Just ask Chuck Darwin, he added in an email message. It is the relentless shifting and mutating, the probing and testing of every possibility on the part of DNA, after all, that generates the raw material for evolution to act on and ensure the success of life on Earth, perhaps beyond. Dr. Davis said that he had been encouraged by the discovery a few years ago that some section of junk DNA seemed to be markedly resistant to change and have remained identical in human, rats, mice, chicken, and dogs for at least 3 million years. But Dr. Benjarano, one of the discoverers of these ultra-conserved string of the genome, said that many of them have turned out to be playing important command and control functions. Why they need to be so conserved remain a mystery, he said, noting that even regular genes that do something undergo more change over time. Most junk bits of DNA that neither help nor annoy an organism mutate even more rapidly. The Japanese team proposed to sidestep the mutation problem by inserting redundant copies of their messages into the genome. By comparing the readout, they said they would be able to recover Einstein formula, even when up to 15% of the original letters in the string had changed or mutated. This is the major point of our work. Nozomi, there's some of these words. Nozomu Yachi said in an email message, at the rate of 1 mutation per generation, Dr. Yachi estimated it could take at least millions of years for the bacteria's genome to change by 15%, a huge change. Only 1% separate us from chimps. But other experts says that a stretch of DNA that is at best useless and perhaps annoying to a little bug could disappear much more rapidly. Calling the idea of storing information in living DNA a nifty idea, Dr. Benarano said, the bottom line is if you want something to perpetuate forever, you can't just come in and type what you want. It will get flushed away. That dream, he says, is hopeless with our current knowledge. If we want to leave a message that will last for eons, it seems we could be clever enough to make sure that the message will remain beneficial to its hosts pretty much forever. The challenge for an SWOW interstellar Johnny Appleseed is to make the message part of the basic nature of its host. If that ever turns out to be us, if we find that we are the medium to paraphrase the late Marshall McLuhan, then in some sense, we are also the message. Never mind who or what are the intended readers. But if we find, say, the digits of the number pi encoded in a cockroach, I want to have a talk with Mr. Studibus first. Okay? So the possibilities are there. And again, this is from it's from 2007, but we all know that that they can't exactly do that. There are a number of articles from ResearchGate and others who dive, more into this into a lot of detail. And it's very technical. And it's very, very technical. I don't want to get into a lot of it because, again, there'll be a lot of reading that I have to do. And really and truly, it's a lot of research that needs to be done. But rest assured, when I'm reading these things, even though these are articles from the New York Times and from Wise magazine, that you could say it is definitely a great possibility, right? Since they're able to store messages into the DNA of cockroaches, right? That we know that. We know that they can edit genes. We know that they can clone genes, right? We know that they can take certain things out of genes and put certain things in. As, for example, changing certain characteristics. If you want to have a baby with blonde hair, blue eyes, they can actually do that. Okay, and that's a fact. I'm not talking, theoretical. Okay, that is a fact. That if you want a design baby, you can't get a design baby. Okay? So that's what I have to say about that subject. There, but that was a good article. Yeah, and again, sometimes they like to put at the end of these things like, oh, these things are theoretical, right? Well, we know that they just kind of like to throw you off, right? Because even today, like I said, within the past, this is an article written in 2007. I remember in the teens, like either early 2013 or 14, engineered what they call a designer baby. And also, right, and then also, in terms of removing certain genetic marker that is predisposed for certain types of disease or illness, right, that they are able to remove those things. So that, like, for example, if you have a family history of certain illness, right, you can identify those genetic markers and remove them. Change them somehow so that going forward, any offspring will not have those predisposed genetic markers that lead to certain types of illness.
Yeah, it's like they want to genetically engineer. They can also, I guess, take away the gene that gives you critical thinking or the gene that makes you question things and resist oppression and stuff like that,
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, they're looking at these things on a cellular level, right? Microscopic cellular in terms of identifying these markers. That's why they're so heavily invested, and particularly in brain research and stuff like that, because I think that a lot of people within the public, I shouldn't really say a lot, but there are a good amount of people who understand that the technology that's being used, especially when it comes to like mind control, and so they have to find other ways, because once you know about these things now, you're able to defend yourself against it, somewhat, not 100% total, but somewhat. So when sometimes, like I always say, sometimes they hit me with the technology, the silent sound, and sometimes you feel very passive and very docile, right? But when I realized, I said to myself, you know what, why am I being why do I feel so passive and so docile? Like I'm not talking about my target, and I'm trying to, in my mind, trying to ignore it. When I'm like, that's not me, because I don't ignore these things, because I expose them. So that's a way, being that we are aware of these things, we can somewhat combat against some of the effect of these things. But if they're able to do it in a genetic level, right, in terms of altering the person's DNA, all right, especially like you said, that if a person, like it comes from a family of freedom fighters, or a person from a family who has a strong belief in civil rights and human rights. So to be able to edit those sort of identifying markers and then edit it down on the cellular level, they can create non-thinkable, docile slaves. And they can also control who have intelligence and who doesn't have intelligence. Right?
Yeah. I think that's another reason as well where they try and keep TI celibate or alone. Because they don't want us to have any children. They don't want us to.
Now, some of us who do have, no, you're right. Some of us who do have kids, they target our kids too.
Yeah,
so
they just want our entire bloodline removed.
Yes. Take away that person's blood. If you can't control their mentality or their mind, take away their bloodline, or you end their bloodline. Okay, and that's why there's such a big push on, because now they want to be able to take the DNA of children and store it into data banks. Okay, and I think I read that article. Let's see. Please.
You do that in China. I just remember the video I watched the other day, where this person was talking about the Uyghurs in China that are being oppressed by the Chinese government, and putting these like concentration camp things. She was saying that one of the things they do is they take your DNA and then they determine if you're threatened.
Yep, and it's not that, but yes, this is what they're doing. So, here, this is from the UK too, because I remember this article from the UK, right? And it says, the article says, this is from corner-i, right? The Mars criminal taking and storing children's DNA sample, right? So again, we talk about how those within law enforcement and security agencies, and it's like, why are you so obsessed with taking children's DNA? Like, why? What tells me is that the people that are in these agencies, so-called law enforcement agencies and security agencies, they're the biggest criminals. They are the biggest criminals, right? But, remember, crime is a business. Crime is a business, right? With crime, you feed the prison industrial complex, right? The crime, these so-called law enforcement officers, they have a career in that. Crime is a business, okay? They can eliminate crime, but they don't, I shouldn't say eliminate crime, but they can eliminate a huge percentage of certain crimes, right? But they don't want to, because again, crime is a business, and they need to feed the machine.
Run it themselves.
Yeah. So it says the National DNA Database now stores 6 million DNA samples, covering a tenth of the population. Some 1.2 or 20% of the samples currently stored in police possessions were taken from people who were children at the time. So here they are taking DNA.
After that, yeah.
They
were forced to destroy a load recently.
Like, seriously.
Samples.
Yeah. That's crazy. Okay?
Yeah, I mean, the UK is just a surveillance state.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly. You're absolutely right. And there was an article by The Guardian about this, too, on this, right? Yeah, so here's the article from The Guardian that talks about, it says, police retain DNA from thousands of children, some 120 gene samples taken in 2 years. This is in 2 years, as police forces argue they're acting within in the law. They're always saying that shit because, you know, they circumvent the law to suit their agenda. And this is what people will have to understand, right? This is what they have to understand.
Yeah, it's just them hoping that they can use that in the future to lock them up.
Yeah, yep. And that's exactly not even
not pretty much.
Yeah, and also that's, but they also start looking at, and this is say the mentality of these people, right? That they're actually looking, particularly when it comes to like black and brown people, that they were actually looking within the DNA of children, right, to see if there's a genetic marker for that predispose them to crime. Well, we know that's not true. We know that's not true. Okay. We know that crime is based on, right, on a number of things. One, economics. Two, environmental. I would say economics, education, environmental. Right. These are the three most important. Right, because we know that if you know, when you have most crimes are within the population that are poor, right? That the population that is not very educated, and that are environmentally impoverished, right? So you go into the neighborhoods where you have high crime, you look at the environment, run down buildings, you know, all this other stuff, right? But yet also, we know that even in the wealthy neighborhoods, you have crime also. Okay? So, you know, but that's try to say, you know, and it shows you the mentality of these people, you know, and Dr. Peter Bragan says these are people who are so-called highly educated, so-called highly astute in terms of social recognition and in the field of psychiatry and you know, all these other scientific fields, right? But these people play with the rest of humanity because they think that we are their toys, right? And because they're in these positions that, you know, they think that is perfectly fine, and it's not. You know, so
yeah, they just think they have the right to do it to us.
Exactly. That's exactly what it is. They think that they have the right because they think that they're different from a different kind of species, and it's based on their intellect, right? And also, it's also based on the idea of superiority.
Yeah, they definitely do the best.
Yeah, and this is where the problem is. Right, that sense of entitlement, thinking that they're superior, is where the problem lies. You know, but you know, they're in those positions. And what we need is other positions to want to remove those people.
Yeah, the problem is the people that follow them, like these perps that they use, realizing they're being played as well.
Yeah, of course they are. You're absolutely right. Of course they are, but they don't care. You know, whatever. Look, when it comes to, you know, when they use people who are, you know, economically in a position of they're economically depressed, right? Then those people will do anything to survive. A lot of them, you know, where money becomes the ultimate goal, right? Because with money you come social change, right? You can also you know, go to, you know, institution of higher learning. You're able to pay, you know, instead of relying on the state for help. So, you know, money is the ultimate tool. They've been able to use money as a weapon, right, against us, and we use that against each other also. So it's a shame, but you know that's the world we're living in. This is the world that they created. This is the society in which they have created to protect themselves from and protect themselves with.
Absolutely. Very well said, man. I agree. I have to agree with what you said right there, man. Again, man. It's unfortunate, but it is what it is. People know exactly what they're doing. Set everything up in that way to turn out in their favor. The technology and the knowledge base of these psychological operations and programs and embedded within society and things of that nature is all by design, man. And they never do things that aren't planned heavily in advance. You know what I mean? They have tests and experimentations, and we are a part of that. It goes a long way with just one thing or one way.
Yeah, definitely.
That's why we're just trying to make a experiment out of the whole world. It's especially more evident in this situation now that I can't really talk about here. But yeah, they definitely think they can just play games with people if they choose. Okay, if they look good, yeah, we'll target them. We'll run this psyop on them, and it's all under the disguise of being a democracy. But right now, it's getting more obvious that it's falling apart. You know what I mean? When you look at what's happening with Trump and all that situation, and the chaos in the Congress building, all starting to unravel.
Yeah, which is not surprising, really, when you think about it. Yeah, man, and the sad part about it is that we here in America, we think that we're so smarter than everybody else, when in fact the majority of Americans in this country have been conditioned into stupidity, right? And they think that they're smarter than everybody else.
Yeah, I mean, it's like here in the UK. A lot of people just wondering what's going on in America. I mean, this country's just as bad, different ways. Our government's pretty corrupt as well. But yeah, man, I won't be surprised if something like that happens here with the government falling apart, and it's definitely. I always think about this. It's like if you build a society or system on crazy values that don't make sense and then say it's a democracy, it's never going to last no matter what you say it is, you know what I mean? And you can see it happening in America now.
Yeah.
You can't say a democracy is a democracy when it's not a democracy and then expect it to be stable and work.
Yeah.
If you have a train with, a couple of wheels missing, yeah, it might go down the track a little bit, but then it's going to come off, you know what I mean, at some point.
You're absolutely right. And that's a problem. They have too many of us believing that we live in a democratic society when we're not.
Right. Yeah. Right now, due to this whole situation I can't really speak about on here, they're pushing something called the Great Reset or something like that, where it's supposed to be like a revolution in economics, and it's basically just a technocratic tyranny that they're trying to bring in. Where they're trying to, have us all in like these cities with surveillance everywhere and smart grid and 5G and all this stuff. It's like they just want us in a open prison almost, where like China, where everything is just watched, everything is controlled, and with the social credit system, whereas if you don't do what the state want, they'll just cut your money off, cut your food off, and all this shit.
Yeah. It's control, right? And that's what it is. It's control. Is there anything else? It's always about control.
Yeah, and keeping them in power and us not.
Yeah.
Keeping us poor, keeping us suppressed. fighting each other when they're just, in their little towers or villas or whatever.
Yeah, I see.
It was this Great Reset thing, there was like something on the World Economic Forum where they were saying stuff like, you own nothing and be happy about it, or something like that.
Listen, I mean,
that was fun.
what do people own? The only thing people own today, unless you're, particularly the majority of people, not the wealthy, they don't own anything except for the clothes on their back. That's it. The house that they'll have to, the next 30 years that they pay for this house that they own, they don't own it. They still don't own it. Right? And they don't own the land either, because, if you pay off all that, if you buy a house, right? I mean, you buy a house, but you don't own the land, right? You still got to pay land taxes to the state and to the government. If you don't pay, guess what? They take away your house. They take your house away. They can't take the land away, so they have to take your house away. So do you, it's like, what I'm saying? And even when you do own the land, you still got to pay land tax for owning the land.
Yeah, it's like you're just renting it, because it's like if you own the house on your own land, you wouldn't have to pay any tax or rent.
Exactly. And
I don't support the police, so why do I have to pay for them when they're corrupt?
Yeah. Yeah.
It's like they extort you to pay for the same things that are harassing you.
Yeah.
Oh, if you don't pay, then you'll be evicted from your house, and the bailiffs will take everything.
Mm-hmm. It's just unbelievable, man.
Also, at this point, man, I like to just add on this real quick, man, because right. Wanted to give opportunity now for Nate to take the second segment, ready for it right now. So up his, targeting and whatever else you want to get into. Yeah. Got the floor, bro.
So it's pretty much been the same with the talent thing recently. Using my neighbours to target me, coming out when I come out. Like today, for instance, as soon as I came outside, one of the neighbours, a woman that is involved, she comes out and gets in a car, and then all of a sudden one of them starts banging something. Then my neighbour on the left side comes out into his garden, and all in the exact same time that I go outside. So they've been doing a lot of the same time again. Using my neighbours again to open the car boot and leave it open, some kind of subliminal, NLP trigger or something like that. There's been a lot of noise from the neighbours, particularly the ones on my left side. Their dogs constantly barking. They just let the dogs bark, playing music for extended periods. And if you look at mind control tactics, extended audio, that's one of the tactics that they use to try and break us down and stress us out and stuff like that. So, that's been going on. Today, car goes past me with one headlight. It's just a continuation of the same dark NLP tactics that they've been doing, the revving. Not so much sirens recently for some reason, but another thing they've been doing is I've been seeing a lot of them wearing blue today. A lot of them, last few days actually, they've been wearing blue, especially cyclists and walkers. I've been seeing a lot of them wearing blue. I know it's some kind of conditioning again using the colour codes. Last week it was red and yellow. I've seen a lot of people in yellow jackets and red jackets. So, this is all the kind of shit these people do to basically condition you and then negatively affect you using colours. So they'll use certain colours to try and rash you with by getting you conditioned to them and then trying to give you a negative feeling. So I've been seeing a lot of that. They've been messing with my internet. I recently got a new router, and it's a fast router. You know, I was running it for a proxy server, and it was on 720, and the old router was struggling, and this one was working pretty well. And all of a sudden, yesterday, I was not getting any video working. I was like, what the hell's going on here? So I was getting like 120p, like the lowest setting on YouTube, and it was barely playing it. So I restarted the router, and then it worked. So I'm guessing they were throttling the router to try and stop me uploading videos, because I was trying to upload a video, and it wouldn't upload because the internet was so slow. That's basically restarted. What else have they been doing? Oh yeah, tonight they were firing some kind of electromagnetic frequency in my EMF canopy, because you know the noise you get when you plug something in and it's kind of shortened? I could hear that noise when I was in my canopy. I was like, what the hell's that noise? I looked around the room, there was nothing plugged in. So I was like, where the hell is this noise coming from? I could just hear this like noise like that, almost like the noise you get when you're underneath power lines on a humid day, or you know, a plug being slightly unplugged. So they were doing something. I guess maybe to affect me, you know, to the core. But I was in the canopy, and one of the effects of microwaves is they create electric when they hit metal. So it's like if you put something metal in a microwave, it will arc and it will spark. So I guess the frequency they were using that was hitting my canopy was creating like an literally an electric field on the canopy, and that was probably the buzzing I could hear. Yeah, that stopped. There's also some news I want to say that's been happening that I've just found out about. Apparently there's a massive power cut in Pakistan. Like the whole country's apparently lost power, and also apparently the Vatican has lost power as well, something like that. Something strange is going on. So I thought I'd drop that in here as well. Yeah, it's pretty much the normal here for me with the targeting. It's just same old tactics again. You know, voice campaigns, the sirens, the revving, the honking, all this stupid shit. So that's what they've been doing my end. Yeah. Oh yeah, last night actually they I got this on video. They had like an Avis rent van that would just park outside my house with the lights on, and then as soon as I turned my phone on to record it, it started to drive off. So and that's in my latest video. Like it literally drove off like immediately. Like these people will get the notification on the phone when your phone is switched on, and then they'll try and, you know, get out of there so that you can't film them. So yeah, that was happening. Yeah, that's pretty much it. Can't think of anything else that happened. Oh, yeah, still featuring the yeah, it's the usual shit these people do. Never stop. Day in, day out, night, day. You know, right now they're playing music.
You know, it's interesting that you said that they were playing music right now, right? Because earlier, Nigel was going through that when we had originally connected and set off the live stream. I think he said his upstairs neighbor was playing music all of a sudden. And, you know, being that it's Sunday, you would figure you're going to start playing music now. Out of left field, not to say that it's wrong for people to play music at that time. It's just, you know what I mean? All of a sudden, the entire day, you're not playing anything, but you wait till the moment where we're ready to do the live stream, and then you start trying to make as much noise as possible to try to, cause some sort of disturbance.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, because like as soon as I do the calls, on a few occasions I've heard them run up the stairs and go into the room opposite my room. Like they're trying to listen in.
Yeah.
When they know the call's starting.
Yeah.
People can do all that shit.
Yeah, they usually take the music on a Saturday, you know what I'm saying? Or if it's on a Sunday, they'll do it earlier, right? But he waits until minutes of 7, then RT calls, and then all of a sudden they stop blasting the music, and they're still playing it. They're still playing. I don't know if you can hear it, but they're still playing.
Like they synchronize with our, time frame, or they know exactly, that we're getting ready to drop the live stream or whatever to get an instruction, whether it's, a straight up text notification or some sort of mind control download to their brain to do it. You know what I'm saying? It's either or. I'm more inclined to believe that they get instructed to do it in real time, some sort of text notification. But I don't sleep on the other possibility that's strong too, that it could be the mind control technology being used to download that shit in their mind to do it, using the silent sound spectrum too. You know what I mean? Go either way.
Yeah, definitely. I think there's elements of both involved, but they definitely know what they're doing a lot of the time. Like the ones next door to me, they definitely know what they're doing.
I would have to agree with you on that too.
Open in the snow. That's one thing they've been doing as well.
Person that knows what they're doing, because when they continue to do something, they do it, and it's like they do it at such a level where you could tell it's on purpose. It's not like a mistake to do something.
Yeah, like the constant slamming doors or banging things that they do.
Right.
It's just like the anomalies that
they
are pointed out.
Dropping some a little too much, you know what I mean? like heavier and shit, like a little too much and shit. Like, yo, come on, man, you gonna drop that shit everywhere I'm walking, in every room that I walk in, you're gonna go. You know what I mean? Like, come on, man. In one area, I can see that happening. You're gonna follow.
Yeah, it's like having the windows open when it's snowing, or when it's like -2. Like, who the fuck does that? It's a trigger. It's an anchor and a trigger that they're using, because they used to do that in the place I was living before. I noticed in 2018 when we had a freezing winter, there was windows open in unusual amounts. I was like, why has everyone got the windows open? Now all of a sudden, this motherfucker next door to me, his window's been open since the summer, literally non-stop. It's not been shut once. Like the most I've seen it is like shut slightly left, but it's been open. Snow, freezing, like -2 at night, still open. Like, who the fuck does that? Because you're going to have to pay a lot more money for your heating bills if you've got the window open in the winter. But it's deliberate. It's an anchor and a trigger.
Yeah, they're normally do that. They're normally do that shit. Or, and for example, there's a person of mine, and sometimes, like, if I'm talking about this stuff, and all of a sudden, the minute I start talking about this stuff, the neighbor would turn off the lights. When I'm done, then they'll turn the lights back on. You know what I'm saying? Like, it has a signal to me. I'm like, oh, okay, motherfucker. You mean like the pull cord lights, right?
You mean like the pull cords? Like when they go in the bathroom?
Yeah.
Yeah, I get that as well sometimes. Sometimes I'm like, is it coincidence? But then other times it's almost like it's not done.
Yeah, it's not coincidence, because they do all every time. You know what I'm saying? You talk about your targeting, they'll do that shit. It's another threat. It's a psychological threat, right? You know what I'm saying? Because they're very slow to switch you off. Right, exactly. Lights out, that sort of thing. Or like what they used to do with the water bottle and shit. Like when they used to target me heavily by Pam, and sometimes I'll stay over there, right? And then I'll leave on my own. Like when I decide to leave, I'll leave on my own. when I was getting on my block, they were like, have like empty water bottles and shit on in the front of my building, right? But when they targeted me and I leave because of their targeting, then they'll have like a half full water bottle in front of my building. They put that shit, like I said, they do shit on purpose. It's purposely being done.
Yeah, like I had dead birds and stuff like that placed where I walked. I've had a dead a sparrow or something thrown in my yard.
Yep.
Earlier in the summer, and I think that when I was in Sheffield, one of the things they do is like they'd throw like dead squirrels or dead magpies on the road.
Yeah.
Like
I'll forget. Well, for me, sometimes what they also used to do, right, they'll start spray painting the sidewalk that says no snitching. I'm just like, yeah, okay. Because they don't want to be talking about this, right? I'm not talking about them. I'm talking about them. They talk about me because the fact that I'm exposing what it is that they're doing. So they try to use that. So they're always trying to use cultural references or cultural stuff against you. So, like I would say, listen, if you want, I'll gladly be a snitch in terms of exposing this program. That's not a problem. So that's what I said. They would spray paint shit on the sidewalk, particularly when I'm, if it's a route that I used to take to go home, they're on my block. They'll spray paint no snitching, no snitching, no snitching. Sometimes they'll place people in strategic places, with that, there's a clothing line called Obey. Right?
Yeah, they used that in the past.
Yeah, and so I was constantly seeing people with hats saying "obey on my way home" and shit like that. I was like, yeah, okay, motherfucker. I'm not big.
2013, I remember seeing shit tons of that. I don't seem to see it anymore.
Yeah. I mean, come on.
I just got a shirt that said "disobey" because I saw that shit so much that I got it in the same style, but it said "disobey."
Yeah. That's being done on purpose, Those things are being put into people's mind to influence them into doing stuff like this, and they don't even think. Like, think about it. I mean, why would you want to create a clothing line that says "obey"? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It's like placing subliminal messages into people's mind, and they do it through clothing lines. It's visual. It's visual, right? And then also, like with you see, like Nike, right? The Nike symbol,
Yeah.
They started naming it the Nike swoosh, right? That's what they named it. Not a check sign, right? Which it is. It's like a check sign, right? But they start calling it the Nike swoosh. And the reason why they call it the Nike swoosh, because in psychology, there is what is called the swoosh method. But you didn't know that, did you?
Oh, I didn't know that one.
Yeah.
I'm not surprised though.
So they all
random like symbols and names that seem random. 9 out of 10 aren't random.
Yeah.
Reason.
Well, a lot of those naming concept comes from the influence of these technologies, right? And again, to influence people into creating certain brand names that they know that they can use in this program. Like the jeans company called True Religion.
Yeah, there's another brand called State Property as well.
Yeah, State Property. That's what they used to use as targeting me early on in my targeting. And every time the police will be driving on my block with their license flashing with no sirens. There's always somebody in a State Property shirt. Or if I leave work, I'll see somebody in some State Property T-shirt. And I think about that shit. Like, why? And this brand was created by a rapper, right? By these rappers. Was it
Benny Siegel and
right.
From the branch off.
Right. So
that was just another way, from what I understand. That's another way that they did with the whole thing from when cats were in jail. And they're wearing the drawers, the shorts on their butt crack and shit. Like they married. What they did there was they married the jail culture into the hip hop culture.
Right.
They use
Hello?
to accept it.
Oh, they cut you off then.
Yeah, they cut you off.
To accepting the whole jail culture. Like that's why they did the state property shit as well.
Yeah, yeah.
So they were trying to marry those two cultures together to kind of create that as an acceptance, a real strong influence in the hip hop community. That's why you see a lot of cats from the early 2000s, mid 2000s, even close to like 2010, around there, wearing their drawers down their fucking, you know, their pants. Like this shit was like hanging down, man. Like people were looking at that shit like, yo, why are you walking around with your drawers hanging, you know, down?
That's how they target Nappy as well. That was the beauty.
The cats that do that are trying to advertise their ass, like literally, like they're trying to let them know that they're open for, you know, sexual shit. You know what I'm saying? With other cats. You know what I'm saying? Like that's how they do that shit. But a lot of people don't know that shit. A lot of people just thought that it was cool, that they created it as some sort of cool fashion for the street culture to, you know, of course, wear baggy clothes, baggy pants, baggy shorts, or what have you. But to have them hanging down your ass had nothing to do with it being a cool style. That all came from prison, bro. And that was the actual connection to it, which was them advertising their booty. That's pretty much what it was, man. I'm being straight up. You know what I'm saying? So all that shit, man, is psychologically based, strategic, and targeting, you know, the poor communities, the ghettos, and, you know, across the United States, like, you know what I mean? Like, Sticky Fingers would say across the USG, you know, the United States ghettos. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And that's what they do. Not for nothing, man. I'd like to go back real quick to what you said, Nigel, in regards to the Nike symbol being the swoosh symbol. I've heard of the swoosh symbol, you know what I'm saying, as far as the Nike being named that. But I remember before that, there was something that they used that particular symbol for. They got it from something they call the goddess of victory. Like, this is something that they did at one point, and they used that as a way of trying to show victory in a race, or victory in an Olympics or something like that. And that was like the symbol they used. So they started off with that. Some sort of like, I'm giving it like a comparison, like a Greek mythological meaning behind it, right? But then somehow through time it started changing. And they started saying, like, when you said that it turned into the swoosh, and that's because of the psychological method, that's mad interesting right there, because I didn't know that either. So at this point, I like to open up that and see what you can tell us and put on the record, man, for people to be aware of, and not only be aware of, but also get educated on the, you know, multifaceted psychological things that could be connected to a lot of stuff that we don't even realize are there. Being that you've gotten to the level where you've pretty much aced those classes, man, which I congratulate you for, and I'm glad that you're doing well in them, and I'm not surprised that you're excelling in them, you know what I'm saying, because you have that type of mindset to do so. You know, like I've said before, and even Night of Thunder has said, you know, you're like the Morpheus of this shit right here, you know what I mean, so it fits you well. So going back to that, man, you know, the whole thing about the swoosh method in psychology, right? Where exactly is it? How does it apply in the setting of life? If you're looking at our situation as TIs, how would that apply itself for us? You know, to give an example, and then from there, if you can, stem from there and see if you could like break down other stuff that you see connected now that you've aced that class. Like, what do you see that you didn't see before? You know, that now that you got more knowledge behind it. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Well, it's based off of NLP, right? Also, they also call it the switch method. There's also, you know, this method, right? So it's, you know, that's basically the same thing. And again, it's anchors and triggers, and it's using that method. It is a pattern, right? Let me see if I can put something up here so I can better explain it. So, it is. It's used to demonstrating how you are to condition somebody and how you can change a person's perception, right? So, for example, if let me read a transcript of a therapist using social method. All right. So it says therapist client. So that demonstrate that you can change the image you have, and you can change how those images make you feel. Now, the reason that I did the frame thing was because it was easy to visualize and easy to teach. The visualization is key because, again, this is how they condition you, right? Because when you visualize, when you can see things and visualize it, it is easier for you to learn it, right? But it is not always the best way, right? There are other ways, and I'm going to show you some of them, right? And it says, I want you to think of another incident that always makes you feel bad, and let me know when you've done that, okay? Client, okay, I'm going to fix going home on time. No, I would like you to choose some other things, okay? And he goes, but this is what's making me feel bad right now. I want to fix this one. This is what's causing me pain now, and I'm going to do this one. Can I see? So therapist, okay, we can work on the coming home late. I want you to think of two different images, two separate pictures. I want you to think of an image of being in a bar and it's getting near the time you should go home. And you are going to feel the way you feel always about that time. And I want you to think of another image. I want you to think of a second image, a picture of you 1 minute before you're supposed to be home, and the door is open and your wife is there and she's smiling happy, and you feel happy and she is happy, and you can maybe imagine there is a meal on the table and to see the picture of bright warm colors like yellow and gold, something you enjoy. So basically, again, so let's say this person might have some subconscious thing about dreading going home. So, but they want to work on that, right? So the framing of the picture of the mind of the wife with the meal and everything like that, creating a sense of warmth and happiness instead of this person feeling, bad. You know what I'm saying? Like, you don't want to go home, because maybe something is going on at home that they dread going home. So being able to change your perception, right? And again, to me, that's kind of dangerous because the reality is you might become going home to a wife that might be abusive or what have you, and, then changing his perception or his feeling about going home to be happy, to an abusive spouse. Or, for example, if it was a woman, go home to, you know what I'm saying? So these are examples of what the switch method is, right? Again, triggers and anchors, changing your perception, being able to connect your bad feeling about certain things and replacing it with a feeling of being happy or good, and so that's basically what it is. I hope I explained that in a way that
yeah, that's not bad. I mean, now I get it better.
Like when I go outside, they'll try and target me, and when I'm coming back to the house, they'll target me. So it's like they're trying to make me not want to go home and make me want to leave. You know what I'm saying? These motherfuckers do the opposite. That they try and target us in that way. Like, instead of trying to take away the discomfort of coming home, they try to make a discomfort of coming home. Like, when you come home, all of a sudden cars will appear and
right. They're trying to make you know that. Go ahead, yeah.
Like they have the opposite
of it. Me on a regular day, like, as soon as I leave the house, they will come out.
Polar opposite of it.
Yeah.
Yeah. As soon as I come home, they'll be waiting. As soon as I leave the house, they'll come out. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's the shit these fuckers do.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's like when they try to, they use it to make a person feel negatively about you, right? And the person don't know why. You know what I'm saying? That's the source method.
Yeah. You mean try and make people feel negative about us?
Yes.
Yeah, like with the smear campaigns and all that.
Would that qualify as a power of association, power of suggestion, or no?
It could, right? But the source method it's somewhat different. It's like sometimes, with the use of the technology, if people see you, they may get like an unsettling, uneasy feeling about you, but they just can't put their finger on it. Because you hear people say that all the time. It's like, I was around this person. I just felt uncomfortable. I didn't really, I couldn't put my finger on it, but I just felt very uncomfortable. I don't know why.
Yep.
Yeah, certain clothing brands and shit like that. Either wear hoodies or something like that to try and make you feel uncomfortable.
Mm-hmm.
They'll also name drop, which is what I call. So, I was on a Zoom call with this woman who's from the job center, and we were talking about jobs that I'm looking for, and she literally said, "Oh yeah, you're looking for gardening jobs, you're looking for gangster jobs." I heard her say that, and I was like, "You just said gangster jobs." So I'm like, okay, why the fuck do you say that? But then in my mind's thinking like, oh, that's probably what they're saying that I'm doing. You know what I'm saying? They're saying, oh yeah, he's doing, we into that shit and all that shit. So that's like they're letting me know the rumors that they're spreading subliminally. So of course, if you say, why did you say that? They say, oh no, I said gardening. You know what I'm saying? I've had them try that with me many times. I call it the name drop when they do that. There is a proper psychological name for it. It's a type of hypnosis. But I feel like they, sometimes they do that shit. Try and go under your defense mechanism and shit. So I've had them do things like that before, where they said a word. Another thing they'll do is they'll say a word that's offensive or derogatory that sounds similar to the word that they're talking about. So, for instance, like, say they're saying something like, oh, I'm going to Fargut. They say there's a road called Fargut Road. They'll say, oh, I'm going to Fargut Road. And then they'll say something like, oh, that's Faggot Road, Fargut Road. You know what I'm saying? It's like they're trying to associate.
Yeah. They're trying to
use the similarity of the words as a way to mask it.
Yes, it's NLP. It's NLP. It's basically creating that word is a trigger, right? And to the anchor, is changing the association of that word. Even though the word is spelled differently, it sounds like similar sounding words, but that are spelled differently, but they sound similar. I mean, this. Again, like I said, we're dealing with experts in many fields that work together, right, to create these sorts of programs. And they're linguistic scientists, psychiatrists, psychologists, sociologists. They all work for an entity, and their expertise is being used and weaponized.
That's the word right there, weaponized.
Yeah, they like to weaponize ordinary things.
Yeah, anything they can use, they can be weaponized. So you have to weaponize social media, right? Like I said, anything these people can use and can weaponize, they will. Doesn't matter. They've been doing it for generations. All right? They weaponize history, weaponize education. We're talking about total domination of those who they want to control, right? And of course, psychology being the biggest part of it.
They're trying.
Yeah.
And, they're trying also to use this situation I can't speak about on here as well as a way to, control people more and abuse people.
Mm-hmm.
All kinds of abuses of power have been going on whilst this is going on.
Yep. I mean, there's there's lots of this article that says why social media is the new weapon in modern warfare. Right? Because with social media, you can reach everybody because almost everyone has a smartphone. A lot of people have computers, and so being able to use those media, right, those online medias, always have to maintain an online presence. I mean, we see it on Facebook. Sometimes I'll post certain articles on Facebook, and it's like people don't get it. But if I post some BS, right? If I post some BS, they'll all get it and they'll comment on it. But if I'm posting, if I'm posting real shit, facts about what's going on, I get blocked, or they don't see my post on their timeline. And
getting shadow banned.
When I post to people on YouTube, I make sure that I reply to top comments because they'll put my comment way below. In the bottom, people won't see it, so I have to reply to the top comment. That way, people can see it. Because I'll be like scrolling down, I find my comment like way, way, way down. If I post, in the normal way, I have to basically reply to a comment that's on the top so that people can see what I'm trying to post. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, that's the way to do it, man. It's smart to do it that way. End up getting across what you wanted to express, and all the people get to, see what you said or whatever. So yeah, man, that's definitely something to keep in mind, man, for people comment on social media. I'm saying whether it's YouTube, Facebook.
And also that's
to do it that way, man. So that way it could come out. Your comment will come out. You know what I'm saying? Like more likely than not. You know what I'm saying? Pardon me, go ahead.
Yeah, I'm saying, like we know that the government, the weaponization of social media is about control and the control of information, right? But then you have companies who weaponize social media for profits, right? And again, with the aid of the U.S., those within the U.S. government, not all, because I'm sure not everyone in the U.S. government is going to put profit over the security of the United States, but those in the United States who have a vested financial interest in these companies, allow these things to happen, right? And this is you can go on the own. If you go on the NIH, which is the NCBI, right, which is the U.S. National Library of Medicine and National Institute of Health, right? They talk about how easy weaponization of social media was, and why companies have put their profits over the national security interests of this country. Okay? Even on government websites, they understand this, but they don't do anything to regulate these companies, right, from putting their profit over the national security of the United States. Because those within the government have vested interest in those companies. You understand?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That's why and the dangerous part about it is that because they take that stand, that's why Russia was able to infiltrate, right, these social media companies and did what they did. And China, you know what I'm saying? So
yeah, China's bad. I'm Russia now.
Yeah. Because they don't they care about their own vested interests. And this is what these majority of perps don't understand. Because again, the little that they receive is more than what they were used to. But in the grand scheme of things, they themselves put their own self at risk. And I've always said this, that these people that participate in these type of programs, they put their own life at risk, their own health at risk, for the sake of a few dollars, or a few, you know what I'm saying, or a few favors. And when you think about it, that's a sad thing, man. Because that means that any adversary can bribe a huge number of your population, right? And to go against the security and national interests of the country that they live in, not knowing that one day it will affect either them or their children, even negatively. You know? But they don't think about that. They just think about the money. The here and now.
Living in the moment, man.
Living in the moment, exactly.
Yeah, that's why I think they use drug addicts, because all they care about is the drugs.
But they don't just use drug addicts. Yeah, but they don't just use drug addicts, man. They use any group of people, any socioeconomic class. You know, is about controlling every level of society, every level of institutions, and infiltration of every level of society and every institution in this country and business in this country. All right, we already see it, right? I mean, you know, when they set up the alarm in RT's building, they do the same thing here too. They set up the lights. You know, I remember one time getting up about, I think I got up maybe after 4 in the morning. I went to use the bathroom, and I think I videotaped it. But as soon as I go into the bathroom, all I just saw is like the lights keep flashing. They just suddenly turned on and flashing, and I've never seen that before. All the time I've got up in the night to use the bathroom, I've never seen it. But I remember it because that's what they used to do to me at work. When I would come into work, either they will set off the alarm, right, with the lights flashing, right, or they'll just always just be the lights flashing with no alarm. And they used to do it multiple times in a day. And I used to ask questions. I was like, don't anybody, I said to my manager, I said, you know, haven't you been noticing this has been going on daily? But they all seem to ignore it.
Yeah, I remember one of your old videos when I first watched your channel. There was a building across from where you live, and the lights were flashing.
Yes. That was not I was by Pam at the time. You know what I'm saying? When I was staying there most of the time. You know?
Yeah, it was like a building under construction or something.
Yeah. Because, you know, the reason why they were doing it, again, because this is what they used to do to me when I was working at my job. So they have to, and again, it's the fire department, because they have to, you know, because you go back and look at my old videos, man. When I'm leaving my job, you see the fire truck coming out of the firehouse. The exact same moment. Happens to me all the time. You know, basically.
And like when they use the
It took me to that moment back when you was in your job to take you back to that trauma, that traumatic moment.
Yeah, exactly.
Fucking bad.
They create the trauma, and then they, you know, remind you over and over again by doing what they do, right? So, but like I said, you know, we're never trauma free, even though we've been through, but we're still being reminded of those trauma. We have put through those trauma on a daily basis.
Right.
Yeah, I've experienced that as well, where they try and remind you of things from the past that they've done. Usually non-verbally.
Yeah, exactly.
For instance, with the window being open all the time.
Yeah.
They definitely continue to use tactics like that.
You know, when they do that, right? When they have their window open all the time, and again, especially in the dead of winter when it's really, really cold, what have you, like, it just proved the point, right? That they will put their own health at risk. And their own health, because somebody can climb into their window and they're sleeping at night. You know what I'm saying? So,
you know, it's going to cost them a huge amount of money for heating.
Yeah, but, you know, I mean, they don't care.
Damage the house.
Their bills are being paid. They don't care.
No,
and if that room is so cold, and that room is so cold, and they have that heat up, then condensation starts to begin. And what's going to happen is that, you know, the walls are going to sweat, and water and electricity don't mix.
Yeah, the walls are going to start cracking, and mold's going to start forming.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Britain has a really damp climate, so it's not going to take long for, you know, mold to form and stuff like that, especially in the winter.
Yeah.
And these people are crazy, man. The shit they do. It's something else.
There's a lot of shit that they do that they get no fit, and because they've conditioned society to become dumb. You know? That's what they're doing. They've conditioned society to become. Yeah, I mean, it's mine. Yeah. Yep.
I mean, not only have they done it through education, which is one of the most main focuses of getting yourself educated and you know, getting yourself on the ball to create some sort of awareness, right? But they dominated that field to be dumbed down, right? Because that's the most important one. But they also went over to TV programming, right? Like you listen to the word programming, right? TV programming, right? So you have that. You have, you know, the attention span of the average American, and I'm gonna speak about this country because this is like where all this is like really bad. Not to say that everywhere else is not just as bad, but I think here it's worse. It's like the worst, man. That's my opinion, though. And the average American's attention span is not even normal to begin with, man, because it's just been made worse with the frequencies that they're on top of everything else hitting us with. The electro smog that we're in on the regular, the Wi-Fi soup that we're all swimming in that we can't see visually. You know what I mean? Unless you're looking at somebody through like a FaceTime or a Skype, and then you can see it in the background from the camera. For some reason, the camera picks up all that shit when you're looking in the background. If you watch somebody on a Skype talking and look at the background, be through the camera where they are, where they're talking from, you're speaking face to face with somebody and shit, you'll see how in the background you can see kind of like, it look like tracking on a VCR. You know what I'm saying? Like shit in the background, like moving and shit that look like waves, but it's like staticky and shit. That's the fucking frequencies, man.
Yeah.
You know? So that's the shit we don't see with the naked eye in real time, right? But the computers, webcams, pick it up. So imagine the shit that we don't see other than that, that's all around us, that we constantly being bombarded with. The nanotech that's probably falling from the aerosols of these chemtrails. You know what I mean? Like, there's a lot of shit, B. A lot of shit.
Definitely, man.
Yeah, they definitely weaponizing the next generation communications equipment. So, if I can say the name without YouTube having a titty fit over it, because that's one of the things they don't like us talking about.
Yeah, appreciate you not, you don't want to, like, give them any sort of admonition, but I'm definitely appreciative of you being aware of that, man. Conscious. Because we got to, look out for each other. This is what we have right here. Platform, and we gotta hold it down. It's unfortunate, man, because here we don't like to do shit like that. We don't like to pull punches, go back on putting out real information the way it's supposed to be originally. So watered down shit. But when it comes down to these people and how they're doing shit now, it's like they're trying to snipe channels out and shit that are doing this sort of thing. We have to unfortunately conform to certain things just to be able to remain on here and say what we do say that other people appreciate that we do. So,
yeah, man.
Nice. Going back to that question at hand, man, like, what do you notice after you've taken that psychology class that you aced, right? Whatever you noticed, you've been able to connect and apply to this program that has helped you after the fact.
Well, just basically, there's stuff I already knew. Most of the stuff I already knew. It's just that when you take in psychology, you go in on a deeper level, right? So, we talk about that. One of the things that I had to do was watch the video of the Stanley Milgram experiment and also the Stanford prison experiment, and then talk about those things, right? Giving examples of what what occurred, of how people blind obedience to authority can lead them to commit acts of crime, even murder, right? And there and the reason why they do it is because, you know, the people, the authoritative, those in the authoritative position who's giving them that power, right? They're basically absolving them from any responsibility. And so those that do commit these acts, right, you know that they will not be held responsible, okay? And so that's why they do these things, okay? So, you know, with power and authority come influence, right? And that influence is that those that are in power and those that are in position of authority can influence others to commit acts, to bypass even their own moral belief, right? To basically discard their own moral belief. Okay, just because, so basically it's like when you fundamentally look at things, the human nature is that human beings will commit some of the most terrible acts upon each other, given that those in the authority have taken away their sense of responsibility, right, and accountability. So that was just one thing, you know what I'm saying? And then, you know, it's like we learn about, you know, developmental psychology, you know, how children, you know, how children personalities are developed by their parents and stuff like that. You have to learn about the brain and, you know, perception, which part of the brain is responsible for perception, which part of the brain is responsible for touch, how we as human beings, how we receive message, you know, there's like what is called the top-down and the bottom-up method. You know, it's a whole bunch of stuff, but I don't want to get into details. It's going to take too long, and I don't want to, you know, I got to get off the call soon. But yeah, you know, it's just learning a whole myriad of these things on a more deeper level. You know, there's too many words for me to remember right now in terms of processes and methods and all this stuff, man.
I just appreciated what you did share, man. You know, I was just getting a processing. Just saying a little while ago how certain things reminded me of what you said, that test that they were doing. It was like an experiment where they had people come in, and it was all fake, though. It was set up to look like when these people were asked to come in, they would ask these people these questions, and they would be on the other side of a wall. And then all they would do is be able to hear the person. And they would ask them these series of questions, and the guy in the lab coat would be in the room with you. And he was asked, you know, for you to just make sure if they get any questions wrong, to push that button that would electrically shock the person behind that wall.
That's the Stanley Milgram experiment.
There you go. That's the one that I immediately thought back on when you were talking about certain things, how you were processing the information of the psychological methods of certain things, and how people would follow another person, the influence of another person, without questioning authority or anything else, just because they look like they're authoritative. They're wearing a white lab coat, they're wearing glasses, they got a clipboard,
right.
They must know what the fuck they're talking about or some shit. It's the same thing like the average American listening to a reporter who's on the television wearing a tie and suit and believe everything they're saying, just because they're wearing a suit and tie and they're on television, not realizing that they're reading off a fucking teleprompter and being scripted of what they're told to say.
And one of the things that, you know, taking this bigger psychology, which is, again, and some of it I understand, but, you know, when you're studying psychology, you know, you study it at a more, especially when you're taking psychology in college, you know, it's on a more deeper level. You know, a lot of stuff, like I said, I know because I've read about it, because, you know, from the beginning, from a long time, you know, I was, though, I wouldn't say the only TI, but I was, in terms of on these TI calls that was having, I was the only one that was talking about the psychology of what was being done to us. You know what I'm saying? Because no other call that I went on was even mentioning these issues until I was.
90% of this program, or 85%, like you said.
Yeah, you know, so, like, for example, you know, some of the first things that we talk, in you know, in my class, you know, we talk about, like, you know, that we have to learn about neuroscience, biological foundations. Another one is is what was this one? This state of consciousness, which was very helpful, right? So you know, so like we talk about circadian rhythms, right? So what are some ways in which our biological schedules can be disrupted, right? Because we have our body function, with rhythms, right? So it's like rhythms, like routine, right? So then if you're working, you get up in the morning, you brush your teeth, do all that stuff. You go to work, get on the train, whatever. So something happens, then it causes a shift in our routine. So just like our body and psychological mindset, there are what is called rotating shift work schedules, right? So for example, when you get on the plane and you go to other parts of the country that operate on a different timeline, it might be 5 hours ahead or 5 hours behind. We have what we call jet lag, right? And jet lag can also, when you jet lag, if you don't sleep to get your body adjusted to that time frame, right, you get sleep deprivation, right? And then sleep deprivation, what it leads to. But there's always a negative, right? So sleep deprivations can lead to reduced cognitive performance, okay, reduced motor performance, irritability, mood changes, right, increased cortisol levels, high risk of physical illness. It can also lead to, which can lead to cancer and heart disease, and emotional reactivity, right? So when they do this to us, they know what they're doing. You know what I'm saying? They know that they don't have to physically touch us to cause us harm, not just psychologically, but biologically as well. You understand what I'm saying? So we think at least on a deeper level, right? And then understanding, sleep and how sleep is important. We talk about, have to learn about REM sleep and NREM sleep, right? Which is REM sleep is rapid eye movement sleep, right? Which is and there's different stages, right? So you have, let's see, let's go here. The different stages. One of the things I'm trying to find, it might be my notebook, so I'll prevent that. But REM sleep is the fourth stage of sleep, right? It's marked by rapid eye movement, right? Irregular breathing, high frequency brain waves, paralysis of large muscles, and often dreaming. So when you're dreaming, when you're in a state of dreaming like that, especially when you're in that deep, and again, when you're dreaming, it's at the ending stages of your sleep, not at the beginning, right? And then then there's what is called non-rapid eye movement sleep, or NREM sleep, and in that there's from 1 to 3 stages, 1 to 3 before you get to REM sleep, which is stage 4. Right? So, and during which sleep does not show any sort of rapid eye movement, right? But you may have some like hallucination, and you're as you're sleeping, sometimes you look at children and you see how sometimes they're sleeping but they're jerking, because they themselves haven't reached that. Even though children don't dream, but they do have rapid eye movement where their brain activity is something is happening in their brain, but they're not quite dreaming yet. You know what I'm saying? But those are, some of the stages, right? And also aging too. Aging, our sleep, when we get proper sleep and we're restful, right? It slows down the aging process. When we don't get proper sleep and we're not restful, so that the aging process is sped up. So so understanding these things, right? You know what I'm saying? Understand that, like why do we dream? Stuff like that. This is stuff that I had to learn about. Sleep-wake disorders and all this stuff. Also, psychoactive drugs and all these things that these are substances like psychoactive drugs are substances that changes mental processes such as consciousness, awareness, moods, and perception. So understanding these things on a more deeper level, learn about stimulants and stuff like that, and it's a whole host of stuff, right? Learn about memory, learn about how how those processes happen in terms of memory and encoding. You know, you think about memory, think of it as a computer, right? So what is memory, right? So memory is the persistence of learning over time, right? It is also the process by which information is encoded, stored, and retrieved. Right? When you're remembering things, you're retrieving it from your mind. It's like how you retrieve information from a hard drive, right? What we see is the encoding process. When things happen to us, we go through an encoding process, and then we store it. And then later on, we can think back and be like, oh, yeah, I remember that's the retrieval process, right? So, you know, understanding those things, you know, constructive processes, organizing and shaping information during the encoding stage, you know? And so, you know, those are, and you know, the three-stage memory models and stuff like that, you know. So that's to give you guys an idea.
Appreciate you, man. That was definitely well accepted and taken in, you know what I mean, by us. I'm sure that our listeners also took that in and, you know, appreciate you for dropping that, man, because anything helpful is going to be something that we can use at some point. The way they weaponize information, stuff like that against us, we have to also use that information to not only heal us, try to heal ourselves, but to counterattack things that they do.
Yeah, you know, I have to do my final paper. My final paper, I decided that we have to pick, you know, some of the things that we learned or have you. So I basically did research. You'd be surprised how many people in the United States have been diagnosed with having a mental illness. On top of that, you know, you'll be surprised. What time is it? All right. Okay, let me just spend 10 minutes. All right. And 10 minutes, 5 minutes, because I got to get but the paper that I did was on schizophrenia and paranoid personality disorder, because again, this is what my brother been diagnosed with. That I've been diagnosed with paranoid personality disorder. So those things, because I always, you know, do research on the things. If you have an illness, if you've been diagnosed with an illness or so-called illness, you do your research on it. Don't just depend on your doctors or anything like that, because we know doctors lie. We know that in the medical and health profession, you know, it's money driven. You know, in psychiatry, it's money driven, right? So we have to be very careful in terms of just accepting these labels and just, you know, just accepting it and thinking that that's when there's something else that's going on. So we're never going to look any further into what we're being told, because we just accept what these so-called professionals says, right? And we know that they're lies and all this other stuff, right? So we talk you know, let me just read this, right? So it says, so what we know and how it affects those suffering. And I said, what we know how it affects those suffering. And I also use some of my own examples, and I also state that I've been diagnosed with this. I don't believe that I have this, but this is what I've been diagnosed with, right? So when I wrote that paper, I included myself in it, because, again, the reason why I did the paper was also to reach the mind of the people that's reading this, right, as well as my professor. You know what I'm saying? So that, you know, and again, you know, it might be a hard thing, because, you know, if they're more money driven, you know, but, you know, others will also be reading it, and so, you know, as long as we can change some mindset, it might not be all, might even be one or two, that's good enough for me, because then I know they can influence other people and change their mindset too, right? And to have them look further and deeper into these things. So it says, for individuals suffering from mental disorder, it may be pretty scary and very detrimental. It is estimated that 51.5 million adults aged 18 and older in the United States, right, with a mental illness, which is 20.6% of all U.S. adults, according to the NIH, the National Institute of Mental Health. Also, according to the NIH, young adults 18 to 25 years of age have the highest prevalence of any mental illness, 29.4%. Adults aged 26.49 years to 26 to 49 years, that's 25%. And finally, adults age 50 years and older, 14.1%. Now, for me, what was surprising was that women have the highest percentage, 70%, 70.5% of all individuals who receive mental health treatment than men, right? Which is men are 56.5%, and women are 70.5%. These figures are reported again by the NIH, right? And so, just to tell you, right? So we're living in America where damn near, a huge portion of the population have been diagnosed with mental illness. Why?
Let me ask you this question. Right? This is a good time for me to interject with that real quick. Would it be possible that a percentage of that amount have been placed in this program and don't realize it and have been targeted properly for maybe most of their life and not known it? You know what I mean?
Well, of course, but guess what? Guess what, right? What they're not including in this is that not also with these so-called diagnoses, right, which we talk about, but what about now that they're saying that people who have lost, like if you lost your son, you lost your daughter, lost your father, your mother, right, they died or something happened to them, they died, that if you grieve longer than 6 months, you're also being diagnosed with a mental illness. Right?
Right.
So that number would be even more higher, right? And this is what I'm saying, because it's money driven. So people are being diagnosed with mental illness when they don't have mental illness. A big part of that, like you said, is because people have been experimented on also, right? And so what we need is experts who, in the field of psychiatry, psychology, sociology, who also know about these programs, these government experimental programs with these technology, stuff like that, who can properly diagnose, who can say, okay, from what you're telling me, it looks like, you might have been part of non-consensual human experimentation, you need such and such, and can give those people an understanding, right? And also try to help them in terms of dealing with what's happening, but not ignoring it and saying that they have a mental illness, but saying that, because of your targeting, it has affected your mental health. You understand what I'm saying?
No doubt.
So
let me in regards to that same thing, going that same path, right? Like, it comes down to them having these statistics and shit like that, right?
Mm-hmm.
They'll never admit to that because, as far as like what we both know, right. What I'm saying is this, right? Like, they already know in advance the same way that crime is created or it needs to exist in order for police to have jobs and careers, politicians, fucking judges, lawyers, correctional officers, the prison industry, which is a private industry, and it's fucking making an obscene amount of money. Okay, and this is what it boils down to, what you said originally, which was it's a very lucrative business.
Exactly.
And it's strategically being created to target minorities.
Yeah.
And the white supremacy behind it is, as we already know, the people who create these programs, the people who we'll never see or meet, you know what I'm saying, that are doing these types of things, holding it down via corporations and stuff like that, meaning that the CEOs of these corporations are down with these programs because they're lucrative, for the simple fact that if they're making a lot of money behind it and they're part of these social secret society movements and brotherhoods and shit like that, on top of that, that gives them that extra bond that they have to stick to and shit like that, almost like holding something over their head. Maybe they got secrets and shit like that they can use against them. You know how the NSA plays with those types of situations. The CIA, they'll hold certain things against you if they know that you like, going after children and shit, you're a pedophile and stuff like that. They'll set you up in such a way where you do something and they'll record it and then hold it over your head. They do that in Hollywood.
Yeah.
So I'm saying this, like, when it comes down to that sort of thing, it's unfortunate that that's what it boils down to for the most part, each and every time, money. You know, money and power.
Yeah,
Money
and
and power.
also, man, remember too in the 90s, and you can look this shit up too, man, in the mid 80s to all the way up to I would say probably the early 2000s, right? A lot of these high-ranking executives, they will go to NLP seminars in which they would be taught how to manipulate their subordinates into working longer hours, you know, to maximize the company's profit. Never mind the help, you know what I'm saying, of those individuals. So, you know,
that is something that I'm not too surprised about. But when I hear it and I didn't know about it before, at first when it hits you, it's like, can you imagine who does it? What company doesn't do that?
yeah. Yep.
You know what I'm saying? Even the ones that claim to be legitimate, like, you know, oh, we care, you know, about our clientele, we care about our employees, and we take care of them and all that. You know, there's always something we don't know or don't see. You know,
it's always the company, man. It's always, everything is. They tried to do that to me. And when I started complaining about my treatment at work, they brought in a psychiatrist, and I told her, I said to her, I said, listen, you're not here for me. I don't care what you said. You're here for the benefit of the company, not for me. Because I'm not stupid, you know what I'm saying? It's not like some of these other people out there who, like, the company cares about me. If the company cares about me, the company will give me a raise and pay me what I'm worth.
Word
right?
up.
You know what I'm saying? Not bringing some psychiatrists because, you know, they're targeting me at work and I'm so stressed out that, you know, it's affecting me. You know, they need to change the culture of the company. You know what I'm saying? But they want you to bring in a psychiatrist so the psychiatrist can say, oh, you know, oh yeah, this person has a mental illness. So that way, if I decide to sue, they can say, well, we have this on record because this is the company, you know, a psychiatrist that the company hired, and that, you know, and that psychiatrist is being paid by the company. They're not even paid by my insurance. You know what I'm saying? I can't, you know, if it was somebody from my insurance that I went out to see them, that's my insurance, but that's the company. That person works for the company. Okay? So, but people are not, you know, people see that and they think the company cares for them. If the company cares for you, the company will pay you what you're worth. Okay? And that's the problem with people today. And people of yesterday too. It's like they believe in words instead of actions when it comes to working for corporations. You know, every time I said, listen, all the praises they would give me on STEM, I said, you know, don't give me the praises, pay me.
Right. No, I agree. Yo, and check this out. To go a little bit further as far as proving that as another comparison to what you're saying, to prove it and confirm it in real time with another example that people could validate this themselves and confirm it by researching it. Take the case of Serpico, the cop. What happened to him? He was exposing corruption in the New York Police Department back in what? Like in the early 70s or 60s?
Yeah, in the 70s.
Right. So what ended up happening to him? You need to go see the precinct shrink. You gotta go see the shrink, right? Which is another term for a psychiatrist, right? And like Nigel said, these people are working for the company / corporate interest or organization interest. You know what I'm saying? So they're hiring that particular psychiatrist to label Serpico at that time as mentally ill on paper. Because remember, a signature from a psychiatrist is very powerful. They can lock
you off. They can take away your freedom, right? Take away your credibility.
So this is what, you know, you have right there as a prime example of what you just said. If people want to look into that,
but that's why those in law enforcement, especially the higher ups, they are the biggest criminals. Okay, they are the biggest criminals, bro. And anybody who tries to expose them, they will destroy them. I mean, there's this woman in Buffalo, New York, who a black lady who stopped this white cop from assaulting someone, and her whole department turned on her, where she had to leave because it made it a hostile environment for her to work in. You know, and then check this out. After they've done to her what they've done to her, a few years later, when something else happened, right? And then there was a department. There was an investigation from outside agents of the department, right? Now people are looking to her, you know, Were actually right back then, and real compensation and all this stuff. But it just goes to show you how they turn people against you, right? Because people were turned against her, and now something else happened. And all of a sudden, they're like, "Oh, well, I guess you were right," and no apology, nothing like that, no compensation, but they made this woman life hell. But again, this is law enforcement, right?
You already know,
Nigel.
Yeah, I know. I know. But yeah, they don't like that shit when I speak the truth, right? And I come with facts.
Exactly.
One thing they don't like, because again, it combats their lies. All right, now listen. I gotta call the kids and say goodnight to them.
No doubt, man. I'm about to shut the call down. Yo, do me a solid, man. Once you're done, give me a hit back. We're gonna try to see if we could do this again. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah. All right, bro.
All right, man.
All right,
dude. All right, y'all. So basically, we're gonna shut the call down for the night. I want to thank Battle Angel for being on standby earlier within your live chat. Even though I don't think anybody was on there, that's fine. You know what I'm saying? But I thank her wholeheartedly for just being there for a little bit, just in case if anybody would show up. I will continue to leave the live chat open for people who want to ask real questions, genuine questions to anyone on the panel, including me, through Battle Angel, who will be the moderator of the live chat. Again, I want to repeat that if any perpy behavior or any odd subliminal message bullshit that is thrown at any of us at any given moment, you will be removed, blocked immediately, if not sooner. Night of Thunder must have fell asleep, and it's, I think right now, about 2:17 in the morning his time, because he's 5 hours ahead of us. He's in the UK. That's UK time. Eastern Standard Time here on the East Coast in America, it's 9:17 p.m. And we're about to call it a night. It was a good call. I hope everyone that was on the call was able to get something out of it, in any given way, at any given moment, that helped you. Something helped you out, that's what's up. Tune in next week, we'll be back again, and we'll continue this as far as we can possibly go with it, you know what I mean? We ain't stopping. None of these people are gonna stop what this has been created to do. Okay, so our fellow EI/TIs out there, stay strong. Continue doing what you was doing. If you're doing positive stuff, keep doing that positive stuff, you know what I mean? Believe in yourself all the way. Don't let these people try to stop you from being who you are, all right? Don't let them ever turn that light out in you. That was something that was told to me by somebody at one point. And I didn't realize at that point that that person may have known I was being targeted, but they couldn't help me. They couldn't say anything. That was their way of trying to give me some sort of positive advice to go through with this once I woke up to it or something. She told me, she said, don't ever let anyone turn the light out in you. You know what I mean? So I'm going to leave that with all the EI/TIs that I hear this particular message at the end of this call, and those upon playback who hear it. With that being said, I want to also say, shout out again to Nappy Headroots. He's having heavy technical phone issues because of these fools out there in San Jose, California, who surround him constantly. And y'all already know, if y'all know Nappy, man, and y'all check out his videos, you know what he goes through. Brother is, very strong, man, you know what I mean? He tries to hold it down as much as possible, but, it gets to all of us at some point. And, I'm hoping he's all right. And I feel he is, because he did respond to me earlier. But, brother, if you hear this, man, know that we're still here. We're not going anywhere. We're going to continue trying to get in contact with you. Try to see if you can get another phone, brother. The phone type that Night of Thunder told you to get, bro. Just for calls. You already know what that is. He told you. If you don't remember, hit me up. And if you can get through, man, when we talk, I'll talk to you about it, bro. Stay strong out there, Nat. And with that being said, We'll close the call. Stay tuned, y'all. Next week we'll be back again. It's RTTI in New York City. Signing out.
Man, you hear this bullshit they be talking every day, man. It's like these motherfuckers is just like professional liars, you know what I'm saying? It's wild. Listen, Bin Laden didn't blow up the projects. It was you, nigga. Tell the truth, nigga.
Bush knocked down the towers.
Tell the truth, nigga.
Bush knocked down the towers.
Tell the truth, nigga. Bin Laden didn't blow up the projects. It was you, nigga. Tell the truth, nigga.
Bush knocked down the towers.
Tell the truth, nigga.
Bush knocked down the towers.
I pledge no allegiance, nigga, fuck the president's speeches. I'm baptized by America and covered in leeches. The dirty water that bleaches your soul and your facial features, drowning you in propaganda that they spit through the speakers. And if you speak about the evil that the government does, the Patriot Act attract you to the type of your blood. They try to frame you and say you was trying to sell drugs and throw a federal indictment on niggas to show you love. This shit is run by fake Christians, fake politicians. Look at their mansions and look at the conditions you live in. All they talk about is terrorism on television. They tell you to listen, but they don't really tell you their mission. They funded Al-Qaeda and now they blame the Muslim religion. Even though Bin Laden was a CIA tactician, they gave him billions of dollars and they funded his purpose. Fahrenheit 9/11, that's just scratching the surface.
Bin Laden didn't blow up the projects. It was you, nigga. Tell the truth, nigga.
Bush knocked down the towers.
Tell the truth, nigga.
Bush knocked down the towers.
Tell the truth, nigga. Bin Laden didn't blow up the projects. It was you, nigga. Tell the truth, nigga.
Bush knocked down the towers.
Tell the truth, nigga.
Bush knocked down the towers.
They say the rebels in Iraq still fight for Saddam, but that's bullshit. I'll show you why it's totally wrong. Cause if another country invaded the hood tonight, it'd be warfare through Harlem and Washington Heights. I wouldn't be fighting for Bush or white America's dream. I'd be fighting for my people's survival and self-esteem. I wouldn't fight for racist churches from the South, my nigga. I'll be fighting to keep the occupation out, my nigga. You ever clock someone who talk shit or look at you wrong? Imagine if they shot at you and was raping your moms. And of course Saddam Hussein had chemical weapons. We sold them that shit after Ronald Reagan's election. Mercenary contractors fighting a new era. Corporate military banking off the war on terror. They controlling the ghetto with the fear of attack, trying to distract the fact that they engineering the crack. So I'm strapped like Lee Malvo, holding a sniper rifle. These bullets will touch your kids, and I don't mean like Michael. Your body be sent to the morgue, stripped down and recycled. I fire on house niggas that support you and like you, cause innocent people get murdered in the struggle daily, and poor people never get shit and struggle daily. This ain't no alien conspiracy theory, this shit is real, written on a dollar underneath the Masonic seal.
I don't rap for dead presidents, I'd rather see the president dead. It's never been said, but I set precedents.
Bin Laden didn't blow up the projects. It was you, nigga. Tell the truth, nigga.
Bush knocked down the towers.
Tell the truth, nigga.
Bush knocked